You're listening to the Gender Reveal Party podcast. I'm your host, Jay Pryor. This isn't your usual gender reveal party. There will be no baby sex parts. This is the real reveal, where we reveal gender through stories of brave humans willing to share their lived experience. Enjoy the listening. I sure enjoy making it. Hi, and welcome back to the Gender Reveal Party podcast. I'm Jay Pryor, your host. And today is a fun day. I'm with my friend, Lindsey Slater Diepenbrock, right? Did I get it right?
Diepenbrock.
Diepenbrock. Diepenbrock, right? And Lindsey and I are friends just from around Lawrence in the Chamber. And she's an amazing human. And for today, I want to talk to you about being a mom of a baby drag queen.
I do have one of those, yes.
Yes, you do. And the first thing I want to do is really acknowledge and appreciate you, because every experience I've ever had of you in regard to your child has been this huge stand for him to just be able to express himself, right? Yes. And I have always just been moved and inspired and delighted by all of your willingness to just let him be who he is and let him express himself. And, thank you for that. And thanks for coming on the show. And I'd love for you to share who you are and what you're all about.
Well, that's very sweet. And I appreciate that, because I don't feel like I'm doing anything special besides supporting my child and my children. I have a littler one too. We're not quite ready to decide what she's going to be yet. But Will is, my son Will is just this wonderful little human. But you said to talk about me first, which I'll do. So yeah, we know each other through chamber things, and now I work for a national organization supporting chambers, really trying to push them to do more community work, supporting businesses, all that good stuff. But I was really convinced growing up, I'm a broadcaster by training, and I was convinced growing up that I didn't want children because children are like so much work. And I was, in my 20s, and I was like, this is about me, guys. Like, I don't need to, other humans, no. But when I met my husband, George, I was like, well, I could have a kid with him, because like, he's really good looking and he's really smart, and like, he would be great. And so now we have two wonderful kids. So Will is 7 and our daughter Nev is 16 months. So she's a handful. But with Will, Will made me a mom. So we have a very special connection. And I just wanted to be a parent that was guided by their child instead of the other way around. Yeah. I felt like, when I was growing up and I was adopted and I love my parents to death, they gave me a very special life and a very privileged life. And, but growing up, my mom, you're trying everything, you're going to do everything, and then we're going to figure out what you like. And I didn't want to do that. I don't love the rushing around crazy life. I want to let us pile around on the couch and watch a movie on a weekend and not worry about getting the dishes done for 5 hours or whatever.
Right.
So when Will was growing up, I just kind of let him guide what he liked, and we just kind of followed that path, and that path led us to drag.
How did that start though, right?
So
I assumed your closet, but most drag queens start in their mom's closet. So.
Well, and what's funny? It didn't. He very rarely goes into my closet. He likes to have things that are correctly sized. So he the first thing I remember with him being drawn toward what would be traditionally called more feminine things is when he was growing up watching Paw Patrol. Sky was his favorite, and Sky's the lone female dog, in pink, and he just loved Sky. And I was like, okay. And he just liked pink things, and that just kind of led me down a path. And I love drag. I watch RuPaul's Drag Race religiously, and consider myself to be an ally of all things LGBTQ. And I think he might have just caught me one day watching it. And what little kid doesn't love beautiful, fancy women in sparkly outfits dancing around and having fun?
Right.
So he just started watching it with me, and he's always loved to dance. Luckily, he gets his rhythm from me and not his father, because I was a dancer for a long time. And he just has this memory of being able to remember lyrics for songs so he can lip sync. And then he would just start putting performances on for us. And I'd be like, why don't you sit and watch this with me? And he's gone back and watched every season. He watches the international seasons. He's watched All Stars. I mean, like, this kid reads subtitles. He's so, Mom, I watched Drag Race España. You're not going to believe what happened. I'm like, okay, well, cool. So, what really started us going down the road of him actually dressing up in drag. And he would always go over to his best girlfriend's house and put on her dance costumes and just spin around. And, they would always play dress up. And so I connected with Brandon Eisman, who I know, and has been on the podcast. And we connected over COVID for a totally different reason, for a Deja Brooks project. Right. And my name kept popping up for him. So he asked to connect. And I mentioned to him, I have this little baby drag lover in my house. And it just kind of started, Brandon put on a drag show at Theater Lawrence during COVID. And I asked Will if he wanted to go. And do you want to go in drag? Oh, yes, I want to go in drag. And so we got him the wig and a shirt and a dress. And I found these really cute jelly high heels. And he had on press-on nails. And he was just feeling himself. You could tell it was so cute. And I was a little worried when we first walked in, because there were some older people in the audience. And I'm not kidding. The first person that came up to him was like this 80-year-old woman was like, "You look amazing." He was like, "Thank you." Like, he just felt so good. And Deja had messaged me earlier saying, would Will do a performance? And I said, I'm sure he would. And so he got up, and actually I had friends hear from other friends that I didn't know. This kid was on stage. He's 6 years old, and he lip synced to a Todrick Hall song. And Brandon, of course, collected tips, and Will earned $200 from that very generous audience.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. And in front of the audience, I was like, Brandon, Deja, please do not give us that money. Like, please. And he dumped it on my head, because you can't tell Deja no.
Right.
And so Will did so awesome. And he got up, when he sat back down, he started crying. And I go, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" He goes, "I'm just so proud of myself." And I'm sobbing. I was just such a mess. And he was,
my God.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
He's like the most empathetic, sweet, precious little kid. And so he was so proud of himself. So now, Deja invited Will goes by Confetti Delish. That is his drag name, Confetti Delish. So very, sparkly, pink, fun, rainbow aesthetic, which is very much Will.
Yeah.
And so Will's actually going to be at Deja's Reading Rainbow at the end of the month for a Pride event. So he's already even booked his first Pride event.
Oh my gosh.
Which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, it is very amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is such a great story. And tell me, have you had any pushback, or everybody's just like, this is the greatest thing ever? I mean, especially when he first started, he was little. I know that even today, I talk a lot about how it just blows my mind how I hear people having an issue with little boys wearing girl clothes or carrying a doll, or preferring the pink, or it just blows my mind how people actually believe that their genitals should dictate what their children engage in. That because he has a penis, damn it, he should be with a truck and that kind of stuff. So did you ever get any pushback, or was that just like smooth sailing the whole way?
I wouldn't say we got visible or verbal pushback, but for sure, Will was the first grandchild from my parents and second on my husband's side. And when you're little, we moved last year, so I was cleaning out just a bunch of stuff, and the amount of baby stuff for Will that had sports, trucks, blue, everything. And so whether people are thinking about it or not, there is very clearly gender lines drawn in a lot of people's minds, right?
Right.
So, and I'm like, well, I'm giving all this away. I mean, and so and all, toys, he had trucks and all that, because I think people just assume that, well, he's a boy, so he gets a truck, or she's a girl, so she gets a doll. And it doesn't jive with me. And I think personally, I have not gotten a lot of pushback from peers or grandparents. Will has come home a couple times saying, I'm not sure I want to paint my nails again. He would go to school with nails painted. Well, someone told me I shouldn't have my nails painted. And I was like, who? And who cares? Yeah. Like, does when I paint your nails and we have mini spa days, do you like how you feel? And he goes, yeah. And I go, well, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what other people feel.
Yeah.
And so, I think once, I think we focus a lot on older generations too. So once my parents and my in-laws kind of they were all at his dance recital on Saturday. They love watching him perform. He's this little baby star. They come to everything he does. And so we haven't really gotten pushback, and they now adjust for birthdays or Christmas or whatever. They adjust to what he wants.
Yeah.
And which is really great, because ultimately they realize how smart and wonderful and sweet of a kid he is. But I think he's gotten more pushback from his peers than I have seen, which scares me as a parent,
right?
Because I try to raise my children be kind to others. Differences are to be celebrated. Just be accepting of all people.
Yeah.
And Will's almost accepting to a fault, right. Where people will be mad at him, or he'll come home and say, this person was really mean to me at school today, but I forgave them. And I'm like, maybe give it a couple days, like I'm just right away. Because I also want him to be able to stand up for himself. Right. And so yeah, I think he's gotten more pushback than I have, which is interesting to me.
Yeah, that's my experience with my own trans kid too, is that he's been bullied. They've been bullied a lot at school, and that we're in the Midwest. So
right.
It's still the sports kids that are the cool ones, and the queers are still the queers. So, at least for now. And the good news is my kid came out at 10. And now, even though there are bullies that they have to deal with, they have a group of little queer kids that they hang out with. Yeah. And they find their tribes, And when I was a kid, there was no other queer kids. It was just me. Well, that's the thing is, and there was other queer kids, but they thought they were the only ones too. You know what I mean? But nowadays, at least, he's going to have other kids and as long as the big thing is that he has supportive parents, so.
Well, and that's what I told him too. And I think people would maybe not all people, maybe more conservative people than I let him watch Drag Race unedited. I cuss in front of him. He knows what words he can say at home and not at school.
Right.
We've had discussions about trans, because there have been so many more trans contestants on RuPaul's Drag Race recently, especially the last season. I think 4 girls came out after the season.
Right.
So we've had that discussion. Like, I've asked Will, do you feel like your insides and outsides match? Mm-hmm. It's a simple question. Mm-hmm. And he goes, yeah, I think they do. I'm like, yeah, great. And I go, and that can change. But for right now, if you feel like your insides match your outsides, that's great. And today we had a little chat about pronouns, because I said, I'm talking to my friend Jay. Jay uses they, them pronouns. Do you know about pronouns? And he said, yeah, we talked about that at one of his after school programs. Just him and a teacher were talking. And I go, well, Will, what are your pronouns? And he goes, my pronouns are he, him. And I was like, great, my pronouns are she, her. And I go, it's nice to ask people, and maybe, and so I said, so cute. Maybe not everyone your age will even understand that question, but that's okay. But I want you to realize that there are a lot of options. And then our robot vacuum was vacuuming, And it finished and I opened it and I was like, man, he's full. And he goes, how do you know the robot is a boy? And I go, honestly, Will, great question. I don't. What do you think the robot's pronouns are?
That's great.
I mean, he's very thoughtful and so he's just a piece of work in a lot of ways. So
that's beautiful. I love it. And that's the thing. It's like, ours started out as I'm male and I'm he, him, and trans, and and I had already come out as non-binary, so it felt like I knew that kid had the options. But then looking back, it's like, yes, they got that, and there was this fear about how kind of similar that happened to me, but for me, it really was about not gender dysphoria, but about not getting it when all the other girls hit puberty, right? Yeah. And my kid wasn't hitting puberty and all their friends were, and they were embarrassed and still in that I want to play and just be a kid kind of place. Sure. And I think that had them feel like I'm a boy a little bit, but definitely they got the gender, oh, this isn't how I identify, and it was weird. And because now they're coming into where their bodies hit, because for a while they stopped puberty for a minute. Now they're off all the hormones and going non-binary and all the pronouns. But their body's starting to go through the female puberty, and they're fine with it, right? They're and occasionally they're not,
right?
For the most part,
listen, none of us are. Like, okay,
but exactly, it's like how everybody else is, right?
Right.
And I talk about this all the time, that no matter what it is with your kids, if you just get on board and let them express themselves and not resist them, they'll come to the right place for themselves. Right? They'll figure it out if they have the space to. Yeah. Right. So now my kid is non-binary, all the pronouns, which, by the way, I should share with you, because I don't know how much, if I've even talked about this on the show, but I haven't seen you in a long time. And I have shifted on my pronouns where I do identify as a non-binary genderqueer always. But I just don't care about the pronouns anymore.
Okay.
Like he, him, she, I don't care. They, she, I don't care. They, she, he, whatever. Call me by my name, whatever. I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because I really got that from my kid, like that. I really learned from them, and I love talking about my child and mixing the pronouns as I'm talking about her,
Yeah.
And then when I'm talking about him later, shifting it up. It's kind of fun, especially to do to other people.
Especially to torture the straights who don't know any better.
Right. Wait, they're like, wait, what?
Right. It's funny.
He, she, they, what?
I feel like, Will and I are very into just drag culture, and they do throw the word girl and she and her,
yes.
So, I mean, I'll tell Will, I'll be like, okay, girl, like, whatever,
right.
I mean, so
yes.
There's not a whole, it's such a spectrum, and I know
there
that
is, yeah, absolutely.
Used, but
there's also that world of like, you get to be part of the club, like you get to like amongst butches and trans guys, especially trans men who identify as he for sure. Yeah. But I also have butches that I call he when we're together and hanging out, like it's the thing, but they are she in the world. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
And clearly he is he in the world. And then, especially when she's dressed up, and confetti delish is she.
Yes. Confetti is very fierce.
Right. I believe it. Yeah. That is.
Yeah, I mean, and we're watching, I let him watch Legendary, which I don't know if you've watched on HBO, but it's about the club scene and the ballroom scene, and it is very much a love letter to the ballroom scene of old. And there is, I mean, talk about just gender queer bending. Sometimes guys in the house are dressed up as women, sometimes the women dressed up as men, sometimes they're animals, sometimes and so seeing that expression, I think for me, like, Will is clearly an artist of some sort.
Yeah.
And this summer we're just he's literally in drag boot camp this summer, because he's doing dance classes, he's taking a sewing class, and he's doing a musical theater camp. So like, he's in full on training this
Oh my
summer.
God.
But those are the
Love
things
it.
he wants to do.
Of course.
Right? So,
Yeah.
of course,
And
I'll
it may or
listen.
may not lead to more drag. You never know. He might
Right.
become a seamstress. Who knows? I mean, you don't know, but I mean, the fact
Right.
that you're just letting him have his expression, that's the beautiful thing. He'll find his place.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing too, is, just supporting him as he gets older and kind of finds that true path. Because you ask him now, you're like, okay, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, fashion designer, drag queen, choreographer, baker, randomly. He wants to do just everything.
Yes,
And
he's 7.
I don't want to dissuade him from any of that. So
Exactly.
let's see what you're good at. Like,
Right.
let's see that music. He did a musical theater camp at Theater Lawrence over spring break. What they do to those kids is magic. The 25, 30 kids learned a 20-minute musical in 5 days, did costumes, did the set, knew choreography, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And even people I didn't know were like, saw me with Will, and they were like, you have a star. Like, we don't know what, but he's got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just letting kids do what they want. And again, I don't feel like being this like cis heteronormative chick on your podcast. I feel like, what am I doing here? But really, it's just about like letting your kid blossom where they are.
Yeah.
And right now, Will is in a drag garden, and
Right.
I'm just going to see what happens.
Right. Well, and I also think it's so important, I've mentioned this a lot on the podcast where I'm a GLSEN volunteer. And one of the things that GLSEN talks about is how kids need a window, like they need to see people that are different than them, but they also need a mirror. And when I was growing up, I did not have a mirror, right? I didn't have anybody who was like me, who got me. Right? I didn't have anybody like that, and was really lonely starting in 6th grade, especially. And that's what I love, that we have at least come far enough that Will has Deja, and Will has you not fearing that. You know what I mean? You're not fearing people that he's looking at as a mirror and seeing them as, look, I can have a life and I can be a drag queen and be a baker. And,
Right.
I mean, I couldn't imagine that I could, I have had, even as young as, 10 years ago, I've had 14 and 15-year-old trans kids come up and say, you're the only old trans guy we know. Right. Right?
Maybe you could have phrased it a little nicer.
I know, but
yeah.
that's what know what they mean is
Right,
they
yes.
don't know anybody. And I've had parents come up to me and say, until my kid met you, they honestly came to us and said, I didn't know I could have a family and a life. My vision of my future was like Jerry Springer or homelessness, or because I didn't know that's what being trans meant. Like,
Right.
And so for him at the age of 7 and even younger, it's 5 and 6, to be able to see people who are having different gender, experiences in the world and being successful and thriving and loving and having a family like Brandon does. And, all of that. It's just, that's one of the reasons I love our community. Right.
I mean, I don't know if
we have a long way to go in a lot of areas, and we've done some things right. And Brandon is one. Brandon did that.
Well, he has done so much for this community, and
Agree.
God love that man and Deja and as his alter ego, because the fact that he is able to make such a positive impression on people that you wouldn't normally think when he's hosting nonprofit events,
right,
or he's reaching these spots in our community that would normally not ever come into contact with a drag queen.
Right.
And so when the fact that Will has that, like when I told Will that I talked, and I was like, I talked to a real live drag queen today, you would have thought that I was like, the president's coming to visit, like, I mean, he was just like, you did what? And so
even my kids, when I was like, I saw Deja Brooks today, they were like, who? What? You saw Deja? And they were littler. It was like, oh, Deja Brooks, the drag queen of Lawrence.
I know. And I don't know if how comfortable I would feel raising a baby drag queen in any, I mean, definitely nowhere else in Kansas, but even a lot of other places. I grew up in Southern Illinois. They're not ready for it. And so, we're really lucky to be in the time we are, in the place we are, I mean, it just all is meant to be in some fashion. So
Got it. Have you gone to Hamburger Mary's for dinner?
I have not.
Oh my gosh, are you
I
kidding
know.
me?
I know. I'm a terrible drag
Hell.
mom. I'm a terrible drag mother. I know. Well, and then and
That's so funny. I'm a terrible drag mother.
I am. Listen,
If you know this, it's only funny to the queer community, but I don't know if they even know what a drag mom is.
well, I am one. And
I guess if they listen to our show, right? Okay, so that's a good time to say, you always could go back and listen to Brandon Eisman, who is Deja Brooks, right? And since you're listening, don't forget to subscribe and like us. And don't forget, you can be a Patreon for just $7 a month. You can support these conversations and all that good stuff. So, but Brandon was, I don't know, early on, I don't know, you'll find him, Brandon Eisman. It links this whole conversation together really powerfully.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I watched that, I watched it on YouTube because I had to see your guys' faces. And I was sobbing hysterically when you guys were talking about Will. And then Will comes up to me because of course he has more empathy in his pinky than I have in my whole body. And he was just like, Mom, why are you crying? I was like, because these people are saying nice things about me. And it's, I mean, and you, and you're so wonderful. And I mean, sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what I did to deserve this kid, because he is just so amazing. And I really think he's going to impact lives as he gets older and make an, just have a positive impact on the world. And I hope that as more millennials and Gen Z parents are, having kids and raising them, that these kinds of conversations like almost become unnecessary, right?
Yeah,
like
agree. My job. I mean, I've been doing this for 35 years. And
right.
I remember the very first time I sat on a panel, because I used to sit on those panels where there was just gays and lesbians.
Yes.
I was the lesbian going, hi, my name is Janet. Now you know a lesbian. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. They didn't know that they knew any gay people.
Right.
Back then. They really didn't. This was like early 90s. So, but way back then, I would sit on those panels and I would say, I am committed to working myself out of business.
Right.
And when it comes to gay and lesbians, it feels like, except for the fact that we've gone way backwards and they're saying don't say gay, which is also, again, the dumbest thing, DeSantis. Dumb. Okay. It's so really dumb. Tell people not to say something. Did you hear the kid's speech, a graduation speech, where he talked about his curly hair? No. I used to hate his curly hair and how he was worried people would be make fun of him or hate him because of his curly hair. And so he hid in his mom's closet about his curly hair. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. God,
I'm gonna have to find it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But anyway, the whole thing that we're going backwards, but it almost felt like for a minute that we did our job around the whole gay and lesbian world, where it's like working ourselves out of business. And then now we still have to bring in people around the gender, because gender is a conversation that makes people fight and argue, and they have to be right. And because it's so trained in us from the damn gender, from this damn gender, going the other direction, the gender reveal parties, right. The minute they see their genitals, they start gendering them, talking to them like a little man.
If I never witnessed another gender reveal party in my life, it would be too soon, because oh my God, I can't.
Tell them you don't want to come to their genital reveal party.
I've never been invited to one because
good.
I have good friends. Okay.
Good.
And we didn't do them because I was like, absolutely not.
Right.
And so, but I mean, even I still find myself, because we're all on our journey, right? Our learning.
We sure are. We are, all of us.
And so I even found myself when we didn't do a gender reveal party, but when I was pregnant with Nev, I made a comment in my Facebook post that I later went back and changed, because Will announced that he was going to get a baby sister, and he was wearing pink. And so I was like, he's wearing an appropriate color. And I was like, what the shit? Why did I say that? I know better than that.
Right.
I have a boy wearing pink. What's wrong with me? And so
Right.
I went back and changed it. And I was just like, God, what a dumb thing to say. And I was ruminating on it.
Right. You
Like,
got to be kind to yourself, man.
Right. I was like,
we're all on the journey here.
right. I was
Plus,
like,
it's so baked into us, Lindsey.
it is.
It is baked.
So hard.
Baked hard.
Yes.
Women don't even see it happening. Like,
No.
that's the thing is like, that's one of my favorite things about being a coach, an executive coach for women and training women all the time is having that lens that they don't, I didn't see it either until I became a dude and started being like, oh, holy crap. Now sunshine's flying out of my ass and I'm a white dude.
Right. I mean, it's like, it is just so ingrained in the fiber of our being.
Yeah.
And so it's been hard for me, but we're learning along with Will because again, he's had kids say to him, why are you wearing pink? Pink is a girl color. And I think he knows, and this was maybe when he was about 5, I think he, and he said, Mom, I was, someone in my class today said that I shouldn't be wearing pink because pink's a girl color. And I go, what do you think? And he goes, well, I think a pink is an everyone color. And I go, I think every color is for everyone. I don't think it matters. Like you can just do whatever you want. Like really, and so trying to like fight that when they're young and get that through their brains that like, if you want a pink shirt, I will buy you a pink shirt. If you want rainbows, if you want blue, if you want black, it's really about whatever makes you feel happy and comfortable. Yeah. That's all that matters to me. You've got a roof over your head, you're fed, and you're safe. Like that's what's important to me. Yeah. So, but it is ingrained without me even, I never did a thing. He was wearing all kinds of colors growing up. He would wear, he has these beautiful blue eyes. So he'd wear a lot of blue just because it looked good on him. But he would have, green and pink and purples. And he wore every color. But even so, he somehow figured out pink is a girl color. Right. And then that was, and I go, well, it's not. And he goes, you're right. I do know. I know it's not.
Well, that's so their peers and everybody else. I remember Emmett walked into, because that used to happen to us where people would give Emmett trucks and they'd give Ren, dolls and all this other stuff. Yeah. Well, somebody gave gave Ren a huge stuffed unicorn and it's pink and purple. And Emmett was so jealous. And for years he was jealous of this unicorn. And finally, when he's like pre-K, Ren like lets him have it or borrow it or something. And so he takes it into pre-K show and tell. And this thing is huge. It's like he's carrying it like this because it's as big as he is. It's one of those big old stuffed unicorns. Yeah. Oh yeah. He's excited. He's all pink. He takes it in. Now the good news is my child is on the spectrum, right? So the autism makes a whole different world of social cues. Right? But we watched him walk in the door, and immediately this little girl says, "That's a girl's toy," right? And he goes, "No, it's mine."
Good for him. That's the correct answer.
He's just like, it just went right over his head. He was like, no, it's my toy. Right. It's mine. Right. We were like, oh, thank God. Because again, same. Now he found his way that he used to wear skirts like little, but then he now, of course, he's all boy. And I have to get over the fact of how, he wants camo and black is his favorite color. And, for me, I'm like,
like, are you sure though?
Are you really sure? You have to be so butch. But Ren, and that's one of the things that confused us, especially at first, in terms of their full self-expression, because when they were little, when Ren was 3, they told us 2 things. One, if you put me in sports, I'll cry. And that's been held true to do not. And again, I'm not just like you. I'm not going to put a kid in something they don't, especially from the age of 3. 3 and a half. Yeah. She's like, if you put me in sports, I'll cry.
Right. Don't do it.
Yeah. Listen to the child. So anyway, but then the other one was only that he would only wear skirts that twirl.
That's a good rule, actually.
Right. when we bought them clothes, it was always had to be skirts that twirl. So then when they came out as, then they went really, kind of dark with their clothing. And I mean, it was just really strange. But then when they came out as trans, they identified as male and used he, him pronouns, but then had permission to put back on the skirts. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
And got their expression back.
Yes.
And then the gender identity switched, and now they're fluid, and they'd go back and forth. And one day they'll wake up and they'll wear a guy's pair of shorts and a t-shirt and tennis shoes to school, and then the next day they've got a skirt. And now fishnets are a thing that our junior high kids wear as like regular stockings. It's weird. And on their arms, fishnets on their arms.
Ooh, this is very like emo recall.
It's interesting, the whole style thing. Crop tops, the new style is, they call it, what was the, oh crap, in 99, when it turned to 2000, everybody, Y2K.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's called Y2K fashion, and it's all the things that Jessica was wearing in 1999.
I was going to say, when I'm on TikTok, I'm like, why are these girls dressing like me when I was in high school?
Yeah, because that's 1999, 2000, right?
Oh yeah. I started high school in 1999. I was a freshman.
Yeah. Jessica was like, that was when we met. It was 1999. She was in her 20s, and she had crop tops, and I mean, all the same clothes that they're wearing. It's called Y2K is the fashion.
Oh, Jesus. Wow.
Apparently, this is what my kid tells me.
Well,
but anyway, my point is, I think when you let kids, just like you said, and this is what I want people to get out of this podcast, if they could get this, right? And I know that when I speak, I just had an interview recently on a podcast, and I was so delighted the woman sent me a video about the impact it had on her. And one of them was this, and this is what I hope people get, is like, if we can let kids just be themselves and express themselves, then they end up dressing and expressing themselves in such different manners, like fluidly. And what would be possible for us then if we had that kind of, fluidness, if we had that ability? And what is stopping you now from that? Like, are you really expressing your gender the way you want to and are you doing gender because you're being told to, or because you have to, or because that's just what I was trained to do? You know what I mean? And the more these kids come up and do it, the more freedom it gives us to be, I think. When I go out in public with my nails, I mostly now tell Will, I mostly get compliments, so it gets better.
Well, and that's the thing too, is I do feel like the Gen Z and younger, they're really gonna fuck shit up. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna just change it all.
I agree.
And
I hope so.
Right. I hope so, for the better, because we don't have to live in these constructs, because life is short. Do what makes you happy. Yeah. Because otherwise, what's the point?
Right.
Like if Will wants to get on stage in a really cute dress and wig and lip sync to Todrick Hall, I will watch him all day.
I love Todrick Hall. I'm praying, Todrick Hall, if you hear me, please, I want you to be on my podcast so bad.
One of my girlfriends during the pandemic, because I started posting, Will really found his stride when we were all locked away. And I would put his little dances and lip syncs on Instagram. And my girlfriend sent him a Todrick autographed fan.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
And it has the emojis for the nail, hair, hips, heels song. Yes. And it's signed by Todrick, and it was so sweet. And so Will just like prized possession, right? Like,
of course,
loved it so much. And yeah, the amount of times I would just post him singing, everyone's like, he needs to be on a show, like get him on. It was before all this stuff about Ellen came out. Get him on Ellen, get him on, like do all the things. Like, how can we make this kid famous? And he's just got this charm about him. But yeah, Todrick, he loves Todrick.
Todrick Hall is amazing, and he's breaking barriers. He's making some really beautiful videos and songs, and it's pretty amazing.
And I feel like it's very easy for him to find content that he relates to now, right? It makes such a huge difference. Yeah. And just like you said, he's got that mirror. He's got it locally, he's got it online, he's got it everywhere, which is really awesome.
Yeah. Right on. Any last words you want to share with our audience? Anything you want to say? Any wisdom to impart?
Oh Lord. I think it ultimately just goes back to, when, especially with parenting, since I'm clearly the expert since I'm on your podcast. But I think to me, I'm just happy that Will is happy. I'm happy that he has found this expressive outlet for himself. I will be a stage mom, so just get ready for that. But he is just a happy, wonderful kid, and he loves to dance and sing. And don't fight what your kids are drawn to. That's the easiest way to parent, is just let them do it. Let them experiment. Yeah. And Will was just putting on makeup earlier, and Lord knows what he's doing now, probably watching Drag Race. But I just, I'm glad that the space exists. I'm glad for all the work that you do and that Brandon and Deja does, because it makes such a huge difference, especially being in Kansas. We're lucky to have activists like you guys. So,
well, thank you. And thanks for being on my show, and always for being a stand for us and a powerful ally. Even before the child arrived, before the baby drag queen.
Before the baby drag. Yes, I try my best. And I think that's part of my journey too, right? Is I'm constantly trying to work on just allyship, trying to, how can I support and help and just be an ear, or if there are any, orphan drag queens out there, I'm available to help and support, So yeah.
Do we have Instagram to follow, find?
Oh yeah, so I'm at Slater Scribe, like a writer, and it's mostly just Will and Nev. So you'll find both of them there. You can go back and watch Will's dances, and then I can also send you the link to Will's YouTube performance.
Oh, please do. We will post that if that's okay with you.
Like, absolutely. That was Confetti Delicious debut, the summer of 21. It's very exciting. So I'll send you that link.
Awesome. Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much, my friend. I just adore you. And thank you so much. Thanks, folks, for listening. And don't forget, again, subscribe, like us, tell all your friends, support these powerful conversations. We're going to deconstruct gender. We're the real reveal, revealing gender, not genitals. So love you. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the Gender Reveal Party podcast. I hope you loved it. And if you did, would you take a second and go do all the things like subscribe, rate, review, tell all your friends. Apparently, if you do that, the podcast platforms are more likely to share it. And if you think these stories are important, please take 3 minutes to just go do that. I'd really appreciate it. Also, I'd love to connect with you on social. On Instagram and Facebook, I'm at the Gender Reveal Party, and on Twitter, I'm at Pryor J. It's a real joy and privilege to bring you this podcast. Come back soon. Love you, bye.